Imagine burning a book. You watch the pages curl and blacken, turning into ash and smoke. To you, the story is gone forever. You can never read those words again. But to the laws of physics, the book is not gone. It has merely changed shape. If we had a supercomputer capable of tracking every single photon of light, every single particle of ash, and every molecule of smoke, we could, in theory, run the movie backward. We could reconstruct the paper, the ink, and the story. This is the bedrock of science: determinism, the belief that the present is perfectly shaped by the past. Information is never lost, it just gets scrambled. But in 1974, Stephen Hawking found a place in the universe where this rule goes to die. A place where the movie cannot be reversed. A place where the past is erased, not just hidden. If he was right, then everything we think we know about reality, our history, our memories, the very solidity of the universe, is an illusion. This is the story of the black hole information paradox and the 40-year war to save the past. To understand the crisis, we first have to understand the rule that was broken. In the language of quantum mechanics, the universe is described by something called the S matrix. Think of the universe as a giant cosmic machine. You feed something in, say, two particles smashing together, and the machine spits out something. The S matrix is just the mathematical rule that connects the input to the output. Crucially, this machine is unitarity. That's a fancy way of saying no matter what happens inside, the amount of information stays the same. This is why physics works. It allows us to predict the future and reconstruct the past. It means the universe is a logical chain of cause and effect. But then we look at the sky and we see monsters. A black hole is a gravity gone mad, a region where space is falling inward so fast that not even light can escape. For a long time, we thought black holes were simple, eternal prisons. You throw a book in, it sits there forever. The information is trapped, but it still exists, safe inside the event horizon. In 1974, Stephen Hawking looked at the edge of the black hole, the event horizon, and applied quantum mechanics. And he found something terrifying. According to quantum field theory, empty space isn't empty. It's a boiling soup of virtual particles popping into existence in pairs, matter and antimatter, and instantly destroying each other. Hawking realized that if this happens right on the edge of black hole, disaster strikes. One particle falls in, but the other escapes. The particle that escapes becomes real radiation. We call it Hawking radiation. But here is the twist. Energy cannot be created from nothing. To pay for the energy of the escaping particle, the black hole must lose mass. Over eons, the black hole radiates away its energy, shrinking and shrinking until it vanishes. Here is the paradox. The radiation coming off the black hole is random, thermal, featureless. It doesn't carry the information of the book you threw in a billion years ago. It's just noise. But the black hole disappears completely. What happens to the book? What happens to the star that collapsed to form it? If the black hole vanishes and the radiation doesn't carry the record of what fell in, then that information is gone, totally deleted from the universe. If you ran the cosmic movie backward, you wouldn't see a book coming out of the ashes. You would see nothing. Random static. Hawking's calculation suggested that black holes are erasers of history. And if physics is broken inside a black hole, it's broken everywhere. This conclusion sparked a civil war in physics. On one side, Stephen Hawking claiming the past can be deleted. On the other, Leonard Susskind and Gerard de Hooft fighting to save quantum mechanics. They couldn't accept that information simply vanishes. It violates the most basic laws of the universe. So, they proposed an idea so strange it sounds like magic. The holographic principle. Imagine you throw a can of soup into a black hole. Hawking says the soup goes inside, gets trapped, and then dissolves into nothingness as the hole evaporates. Susskind argued, what if the information about the soup doesn't just fall in? What if, as it passes the event horizon, a copy of the data gets smeared across the surface of the black hole? Like a label on a can, the information lives on the 2D surface of the horizon, even while the 3D object falls inside. When the black hole radiates, it doesn't release random noise. It picks up the data from the surface, the label, and carries it back out into the universe. This saved physics, but at a terrible cost. It implies that the 3D reality we experience, the feeling of falling, of depth, of space, is actually a projection from a 2D surface at the edge of the universe. We might all be holograms. For a while, there was an uneasy peace. Holography seemed to solve the problem. The information gets out, the past is safe. But in 2012, 4 physicists known as AMPS checked the math again, and they found a fatal contradiction. It comes down to a rule called the monogamy of entanglement. In the quantum world, a particle can be strongly entangled, linked with only one other thing at a time. It's like a marriage. You can't be fully married to 2 different people. Let's look at a particle of radiation leaving the black hole. Let's call him Bob. To save the past unitarity, Bob must be entangled with the radiation that comes out before him. He carries the data. To preserve the smooth structure of space-time, general relativity, Bob must be entangled with his partner particle that just fell into the black hole. Bob has to be married to the outside and the inside at the same time. Quantum mechanics forbids this. So AMPS said something has to break. They argued that the link to the inside snaps. Breaking entanglement creates energy, a lot of energy. This means the event horizon isn't a smooth point of no return. It is a raging wall of pure energy, a firewall. If this is true, space-time effectively ends at the edge of the black hole. You don't fall in, you hit a brick wall of fire and burn up instantly. We were back to square one. Either we lose information or we lose space-time itself. To solve this, physicists needed a scoreboard, a way to know if they were winning. Enter Don Page. He realized that if information really does escape a black hole, the process must follow a very specific pattern, now known as the Page curve. Think of the burning book again. When the first few wisps of the smoke rise up, they look random. You can't read the story yet, the entropy is increasing. But halfway through the burning, something shifts. If the information is conserved, the remaining smoke must start correlated with the smoke that came before. The puzzle pieces started clicking together. The entropy must go down. If Hawking was right, the curve just goes up forever until the black hole vanishes. Total loss. If quantum mechanics is right, the curve must go up, peak, and then come down to zero. For decades, no one could derive this curve using gravity. The math just didn't work. We knew what the answer should be, but we couldn't prove it. Until 2019, two teams of physicists found the missing piece, and it is arguably the weirdest concept in modern physics. They used a new mathematical tool called the replica trick. To calculate the entropy of the black hole, they looked for where the information was actually located. Usually, we think of the inside of the black hole and the outside as two separate territories. But the math revealed that as the black hole gets older, a strange transition happens. Deep inside the black hole, disconnected region of space-time appear. They called them islands. Here is the shocker. According to quantum gravity, these islands, even though they are physically inside the black hole, belong to the radiation outside. It's like finding a secret room in your house that legally belongs to your neighbor down the street. Through the geometry of higher dimensional wormholes, the interior of the black hole is secretly connected to the cloud of radiation far away. When they added these islands to the calculation, the numbers changed. The entropy went up, and then, exactly at the halfway point, it turned and went down. They had reproduced the Page curve. They had proven using gravity itself that the information gets out. So, the firewall is cancelled. The information is safe. But the solution leaves us with a profound new understanding of reality. How can the inside of a black hole belong to the radiation millions of light years away? It suggests that distance is an illusion. This brings us to the most radical idea of all. ER is equal to EPR. ER stands for Einstein-Rosen bridges, basically wormholes, and EPR stands for quantum entanglement. The solution to the paradox suggests these are the same. When two particles are entangled, they are connected by a tiny microscopic wormholes. Space-time isn't a pre-existing stage that we act on. Space-time is the result of these connections. The universe is being knitted together by quantum entanglement. When the black hole radiates, it isn't just throwing out energy, it is throwing out space-time threads. The radiation remains connected to the interior of billions of tiny wormholes. That's how the information escapes. It walks across the bridge. Stephen Hawking was half right. The black hole does destroy the classical book, but the quantum story survives, written not in ink on paper, but in the geometry of space-time itself. We started by fearing that black hole destroys our past. We ended up realizing that they are the master weavers of our reality. The universe is stranger, more interconnected, and more resilient than we ever dared to dream. We are not just in the universe. We are made of the connections that hold it together.
Hi everyone, I'm Sinan and thank you for watching this video till the very end. There were some things I wanted to add to this video. There have been some significant developments even after 2019 on the black hole information paradox, but as a storyteller and as a content creator, I found the ending at 2019 had a good philosophical conclusion. So for the additional resources and the resources for this would be available in the description below within the first week of the upload. If you cannot find them, it's most probably that this video is uploaded quite recently. As many of you know, I make these animations using Python's manim library. Some data about that is it took about 50 days to make all of these animations, majorly working during the weekends. It took about 10,000 lines of code. I would also like to thank each and every one of you who watched my previous video, because that video alone got me more than 4,000 watch hours and way more than 1,000 subscribers, making me eligible for the YouTube partner program, which I'm a partner of as of now. Given that, channel memberships and super thanks are now enabled. Be sure to check that out. Finally, the most important segment of this video is this. I would like to thank my mom and sister for giving me valuable feedback for the animations in this video. For example, my mom pointed out that making the candle light flicker and blinking of the cat in the very first scene would be a good addition. I've made my sister watch this video 1,000 times to get some form of feedback of how I could make this better. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.